Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. As the Paris Legion roster change shenanigans continue on in the background, Dashy has made his thoughts very clear indeed on the current format that the CDL has to offer and what they could potentially change going into the rest of the year. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this is when the Florida meeting is, thought it was kind of funny, put this new skin on and now we can't win a hard points. New York subliners catching strays in the timeline, and understandably so. We shall see what happens in this upcoming major. It would have been this weekend, I believe you guys were kind of saying, like, why is it the major happening, well, of course, today and yesterday and tomorrow would have been the Championship Sunday. I'm guessing the OpTic organisation and Envoy and all of that couldn't get the venue this weekend. It has to be next weekend instead. What that does mean is that March is going to be absolutely incredibly hectic, going straight from the major, back into Major 2 qualifiers, then into the Major 2 in Minnesota. But yes, next stage, thankfully for the New York guys, they do have an easier schedule, at least in theory. Now, of course, that's the thing, like, not only if they looked pretty woeful in the hard points especially, but they've played very difficult teams on the whole. Next stage should be a different story, but that's the problem, right? Even though it should theoretically even out over the season in terms of what matches these teams play, over time, like that, how good teams are fluctuate, right? Which means that some teams are basically going to get screwed over. But firstly, let's discuss some roster change stuff, because Toronto Ultra have had an academy in the works, I believe, for quite some time now, partnering up with Singularity to make this happen. Now, not just are they bringing in an academy in North America, but also in the European side. This is really cool to see. I think we saw Minnesota do this very recently, right? They brought on the Minnesota Academy, pretty much bringing up all the Spanish guys. And in the European side, Ultra have basically signed the second best European team, the best kind of British European team out there. And then, of course, they have Hicksy as their sub in North America. They've brought on some other lads as well to kind of round out a second Academy team. So really interesting stuff, to be honest, because Rokkr, I wonder exactly what they're thinking, whether those are Spanish guys, could they ever be in their starting lineup, or are they thinking of just, selling them on at some point or another if a Spanish spot comes into the league, or if they actually make it through to the kind of prime classic between stage 2 and 3, then another organisation might want to come in and pick those guys up for that event. Definitely some questions still to be answered right here. Thought this is cool, actually. Vickle, right, a Spanish player, he got over to the States, been playing challenges in that side for quite some time now. This is going to be the North American team. So Hicksy, of course, the substitute initially from the UK, now he's over there in the States. Mohawk and Scrappy alongside Vickle, that's kind of the North America Academy squad. And then in Europe, they've got this team. So they've got Harry, Vortex, Beans, Furious, and Josh, of course, being the coach. Now, of course, well, great to see Vortex, I think, getting an opportunity, contracted to a pro team at long last, so it's been a very long time. Now, Harry, of course, you guys might notice, is actually the substitute right now for the London Royal Ravens. So, kind of interesting, right, that they've actually managed to pull this off. My understanding is that Harry is on loan from the Ravens to Toronto Ultra. If they want to recall him, they can make that happen. Might be one of the benefits of having a coach there in Josh, just in case they need someone to sub in last minute if Harry gets recalled to the London starting team. Of course, the way London are looking right now, it's kind of unlikely, but it's interesting nonetheless, right, that Harry is technically a Ravens player, but now he's on the Ultra Academy, which I think is okay. They've obviously made it work, but it's still interesting nonetheless. Cool to see from the Toronto Ultra guys really, well, investing into the amateur scene. Finally, some of these organizations getting involved again, because it's been a difficult time for some of these guys down there, especially in the other regions. Now, well, this also comes out yesterday from Team War. Thank you, Tom Gravity and Jimbo, for their time with us. That, of course, well, Tom Gravity and Jimbo, two players rumoured to be going to the Paris Legion. Now, it does seem like, as of right now, that maybe only one of these players will actually end up on the starting team over there. Not really sure what's going on with Jimbo, because I think he was gone from the Team War side. He was going to go to Paris, and maybe he's going to be there as a sub or something. I don't really know what the plan is here, even though that seems kind of unlikely. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But he was, I think, looking for another Challengers team. Like, a bit of a chaotic time really here behind the scenes, because as Crone says, it seems possible, like, Gravity actually signed a contract. I'm pretty sure this is the gift. So he tweets this out. Gravity is going to be there, we believe, on Paris right now. But it was going to be Gravity for Fellow out of there, then Decimate out of there on the SMG, and then Jimbo in instead. It seems like what might happen now is Fellow is just going to get trialed on a different role. I don't really think he's a natural main AR, so having him in that role, he didn't really seem particularly comfortable so far this year, at least in the way that team was constructed. So I guess they might try Gravity on the AR, and then maybe Fellow will be the flex on this team for now. That's at least what Crone kind of points out right here. He says, from what I understand, Gravity will want the main AR as expected. Fellow will be moved to the flex, and Desi will no longer be starting. So of all the players to get dropped here, Decimate is kind of, it seems, well, I don't know, like, he just definitely didn't seem to me to be the worst performing player, but seemingly that's what they're going with. Not sure where Jimbo is in this picture, whether he's there at all, but yeah, that seems to be what the Paris Legion are playing at right now. Whether that'll work out for them, I'm sure you guys can give your thoughts on this one in the comment section below. It also pretty much got leaked as well that yes, there is a new Paris team. This is kind of going through, like, Sky's basically said on stream, yeah, we scrimmed the new Paris guys. Didn't say anything about the details of the team. I think he was actually going to describe what the team was, but he kind of stops himself just short of that one. But basically, yeah, confirming, leaking that, yeah, this is indeed going through. There is a new Paris team, but of course, it's not exactly clear what it is going to be right now, but we discussed the likelihood. There's also was kind of funny, right? Shots here, of course, well, Leak C. He comes in the chat and says, welcome to the Leak Squad. So congratulations to everyone involved. Let's dive into this then, right? Because the OpTic podcast comes out last night, and Dashy definitely makes his thoughts very clear indeed on, his frustrations with the current state of the format. The tiebreakers obviously are absolutely incredible, but also the fact that some teams get much easier brackets in some of these runs than some of the other teams. Minnesota, for example, they got, I believe, the 10th seed, but they played, all the teams they played qualified, I believe, for the major in the winners bracket, which is a pretty difficult time. Then again, if you are a team at the lower half of the standings, naturally you're going to get harder matches, because if you're Paris, for example, you can't play Paris, right? Whereas if you're FaZe, you can't play FaZe. So there is also that kind of inherent bias there, but the idea is that the CDL scheduled all the matches ahead of the season. I believe like OpTic versus FaZe on one of these games is like going ahead in, or maybe it's OpTic New York, I don't know. There's one game that's going on in May that they advertised a while ago. It's like, okay, who cares, right? There's a game in May that probably we'll see before then anyway, but we do know a long distance out exactly what the schedule is going to be. But Dashy revealed his thoughts on there. Yeah, that's some pretty strong words. To be honest, he was kind of wondering whether he'd get fined for it, but a lot of players have made this clear as well, so he's kind of thinking, okay, maybe I'll get away with it, just because other players have also echoed this sentiment that, yes, right now, the way the format is done isn't ideal, especially, he reckons, the tiebreakers. The fact that there's no groups, the way there's like a 5-way tiebreaker when it comes down to map counts, but also some of these teams have just much easier schedules than others.
Or how's the overall CDL been this year so far?
Now that
the league or like the game or just everything?
The
included?
league.
Your experience as a player.
It seems like everything's pretty organized.
No. It's like, I guess like the matches are kind of like how they were last year, but I think the format, I'm not going to cap. I think it's pretty shit.
Do you?
Yeah, because it kind of doesn't make sense because they have it so.
Can you say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
I say that.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone says it. Like, so, like, if they're gonna find me, you better find everybody else. You know what I mean? Like totally fair.
Yeah, if you find me, I'm gonna tweet about it.
Yeah.
Wait, what's wrong with the?
It's just, I don't know. It's like the way it works is whoever just finishes top 8 in the standings for that division, but it's like included. Like, it's not like there's 2 groups from last year where there was like 6 teams in one group, 6 teams in another. It's just the whole league, and then it's like everyone's schedule is different. Like we could play FaZe, like, and then you know what I mean.
Stupid, actually.
And the number 2, 3, 4, and 5th seed, and then another team could play
8.
like the bottom 5 like teams in the league to qualify, and then if they go 3-2, we go 3-2, but they had a better map count.
Wow, that is kind of.
So
I wonder if
Just
they're
have a
gonna.
They don't
much
account for
harder
strength
schedule
and-
a certain stage, and like someone else can get in because their schedule is much easier.
Yeah.
So they haven't like
That's really
balanced.
stupid.
They haven't, like,
And you're
balanced
in
it?
their same group for like the record
That is
like
so
they're
stupid,
holding.
actually.
Yeah, that's why.
Did you see how close all the maps are?
Yeah.
Like,
There's like a 5-way tie maybe happening.
that's insane.
'Cause
Like
you
you guys are tied. You guys are tied with the second place team in map count, but
Yeah, but
as far as like series count, it's different.
Yeah, 'cause
that's
we-
You know
so
what'd be cool?
wild.
If there's like a 5-team tie, what if like you had to nominate one person from each team, right? And you had to go to like a free for all to decide it all.
It's the ISO.
No, a
there
gun
would be
game. A
one
gun game.
person.
A gun game.
A
Stuff
gun
like-
game.
Gun game.
Dude,
just a
dude
battle
play
to the
so
death.
ratty. Who'd y'all choose?
Shots.
Who's your champion?
I don't even know what the game is. Shots.
Now, the problem is, of course, if they want to fix this, that there isn't really anything you can do for the rest of the year. You're kind of locked into how this works. The only thing you can maybe change is how the tiebreakers are done. But, I honestly quite like this format for entertainment purposes. Like, from the pro side, I understand that from competitive integrity, it may not be the perfect idea, right? We've got teams scheduled months in advance against teams that theoretically, before the season began, based on arbitrary power rankings they came up with, should give teams a relatively equal schedule over the course of the entire season. But as things progress, like some teams get better, some teams get worse, and also like the way the tiebreakers are done, not sure how you can realistically do it any different, because the teams that are tied are not guaranteed to have played each other. But we can look ahead here to stage 2, starting here on March the 11th, so not really long at all after the stage 1 major concludes. New York had a very tough run this time. We can actually have a look at their run that we're going to have here in stage 2. So they play the Ravens, they then play the Florida Mutineers, then the Paris Legion, then they play Minnesota, and then Toronto Ultra. So again, not the easiest run in the world for New York, but not the worst one, I suppose. Two that I was kind of browsing to see which teams kind of had the hardest schedules. I felt like OpTic and maybe Los Angeles Thieves, they don't have the easiest ones next time, because I think OpTic this time technically had an easier run than they could have done, but that should equal out over time. But the problem is that if you play Surge, like if you played Surge right at the start of stage 1, and maybe Surge fall off and become middle of the pack team, or maybe like another team really comes up the pecking order, then it just creates a lot of chaos really here. So for example, Los Angeles Thieves, they play the Ravens, that should be a tough game. Then they play OpTic, obviously, we know how that's going to be like. Then they play Minnesota, then Los Angeles Guerrillas, then Seattle Surge. So maybe not the hardest one in the world. The OpTic guys, for example, they play FaZe, they play Los Angeles Guerrillas, and I mean, Florida Mutineers could be difficult on their day, Seattle Surge, and LA Thieves. If anything, OpTic have a pretty hard time next time around. But I mean, that's just how it goes. You've got to win at least 3 if you want to guarantee yourself into winners, but also there's a whole discussion about the tiebreakers, right? The fact that Ravens have the same map count here as OpTic, but of course, because they won one more series, they're here at 4-1, OpTic are here at 3-2. But I mean, yeah, like there's all this chaos, right, about the map win percentage, which pretty much is what decided it, right? And Minnesota Rokkr were not happy. They were 2-3, but if you look at the map win percentage, that's kind of what determines these seedings down here. It's a bit of a mess, but personally, I think towards the end of last year, the groups got very dull indeed, and maybe it got dull just because the teams get to determine which teams go to the other groups. If you just do it straight up based on the seeding from the major, then because what would happen before is that teams would like put the same teams that they'd put before in the other group. So a lot of the groups seem to be very similar. We got very similar matches towards the end of last year. If you did it straight off like just the performance from the major, and like you don't actually let the teams decide which groups the other squad is going to go in, then maybe you get a slightly fairer situation. But I thought towards the end of last year, the groups got kind of dull. This should keep things interesting longer, but from the pro side, I understand that it's maybe not the most competitive we have ever seen. This also from Doug Lee, just so kind of while everyone's on the train of talking about the CDL, he actually mentions the following. This guy is, he's a stats guy over at Los Angeles Guerrillas, I still believe, or maybe just the guard in general at the moment, as it says in his bio. But as he says, have yet to receive one single line of data from the CDL this year, haven't sniffed a box score, let alone player stats. During the CWL World War II in 2018, we got the location of every spawn, kill, and death, along with the score of every hill for every mode for every game. Resources stats, that's the thing, like people in the community are doing these stats manually to try and make this happen, but the league for some reason won't actually, like I'm pretty sure they have an API behind the scenes that they can share with their CDL teams to actually give this information across. I remember back in the World War II days, JP Crazy, who's now the analyst for New York, he was making these incredible like heat maps of players because they had all the information just ripped straight from the game that I believe they still have of where players spawned, where they died, like all recorded. So you could just plug that into some sort of algorithm or whatever and create some awesome graphics and do some great analysis. Whereas it seems like even the CDL teams don't get access to this behind the scenes. So definitely some things the CDL can improve upon here. Interesting really that Esports Engine haven't had more of an impact on this yet, because of course I guess they're running the show, at least the MLG guys back in the CWL days. So maybe that's something we will see more a little bit over time. Just wanted to mention power rankings actually as well real quick just before we close out the video, because this came out from the coaches. So we looked at kind of what the flank had to say a couple of days ago, but the coaches ranked these. And actually very interestingly, London and OpTic were tied for 3rd place. Mack, I believe, got the coaching staff for each of the 12 teams just to rank order the squads and then basically take the average. This is what it came out as. So FaZe number 1, LA Thieves number 2, then 3rd and 3rd is both OpTic and London Royal Ravens, which is pretty crazy. Then 5th is Ultra, then 6th is Seattle. So pretty well aligned really with what we saw. Minnesota actually down here in 9th, and we got of course at the bottom of the pecking order. It's kind of what we might expect. But yeah, I thought these are pretty good rankings on the whole. Not sure how you'd really cut these up into tier list. We'll see how of course things play out in the major. I just had this pretty funny clip of FBI open up that Zuma put on the timeline last night. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit a like button. Tell us the YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.